All right, and yes, we are live. How you guys doing? Welcome to the show. I normally do these at 7. I had to push it back a little bit because I was skiing today. It's Family Day here in Canada, so to all my fellow Canadians on Family Day, I hope you enjoyed your day with the fam and had a nice jam, if we can put it that way. But yeah, back to work. Made it back in time. Didn't even get a chance to get out of the base layer. I'm still in my ski gear, but promise to do the shows every Monday, so here I am. So this is a little bit more of a laid back show. I figured I'd kind of like recap a little bit of the Andrew Wilson debate the other day on marriage, and then do some Q&A. I think that's kind of the easiest way to get through tonight. Let me grab the call-in link, invite guests, copy, and I'll put it in the all chat. Call in and ask a Q. You can ask me anything. It's, whatever topic you want to cover tonight. And boom. And I will pin that at the top of the live stream on the YouTubes. Thank you for joining me tonight, guys. I know you could be anywhere else right about now. And it's cool to chop it up with you. All right, let's take a quick look at the chat here because I saw a few people were sort of discussing a little bit before the show. Enjoyed the debate. Rich was cool and collected. Rich greater than Andrew. I'm sure on his side and maybe Jake's channel, they're probably saying the exact opposite. I mean, I debates are a weird thing. Like, I don't normally do stuff like that. It's the first time I've ever done a debate show and Steelman and opening statements and all this stuff. When I create content, I often, I kind of sit back and I marinate on it. I'm like, okay, how can I angle this? And how is this a better way to approach it? And what would a good solution to this be? I don't just like talking about problems like a lot of people just do. They're like, oh, that's a problem or you're screwed or whatever. I like to contemplate solutions along with problems. So to do a debate style show with, the champ of debates, I guess you could argue. That's what I said at the start of the show anyway. It's weird. It's different for me, but weird. What I've noticed about human nature is that people don't really want to hear other people's opinions. They generally want to hear their ideas and opinions coming out of your mouth. So, but that was different talking to Andrew Wilson because he legitimately just wants to win the argument by any means necessary. And it's weird because I found him talking over me a lot, although some people complained that I was talking over him. Okay. And he also has a tendency to talk in circles a lot, like not really getting to a point. Or if he makes a point and you debunk it, it's like, yeah, but this over here and this over here is all that matters. And you go, okay, well, that over there is wrong. And here's why. Yeah, but now it's this over here. And it's like the goalpost sort of moves. So there's a lot of talking in circles, which is different. Like I said, it's new to me. I've seen him talk to these weirdo feminists on Piers Morgan, and I like the way that he handles it. I like the guy, genuinely. I think he's a great voice for culture and for politics when it comes to things like toxic feminism. I don't know about the whole sitting on podcasts. He does a lot of shows on the Whatever podcast with Brian Atlas. And I brought up the fact that a lot of these women that he sat beside on these shows aren't really marriageable material. And he seemed to dismiss it very quickly. Oh, no, you're wrong. As long as we can get Christian Orthodox women, everything will be fine, which is a cope. I mean, I don't know how many women that have been on these dating podcast shows that are Christian Orthodox, on Fresh and Fit. When I was running Ladies Night, same thing. And they're all, for the most part, the same. They're all not the kind of woman that you'd want to invite into your life on a permanent basis and expose your wealth and your access to your kids with. It just doesn't make any sense, especially with the current divorce rates. Marriage Partnership Ministry says, Rich, the devout religious divorce rates were low, but sexless marriage rates for those groups and permanently physically separated stats for the group wasn't addressed. I mean, I did address the fact that the vast majority of people that are in long-term committed relationships with another over about 8.5 years don't even like each other. So to say that it's successful that you're married or that you have a lower divorce rate if you're Christian Orthodox, which wasn't that much lower. I mean, I'll deal with the details of that in a second. It's like 10 to 25%, depending on the denomination, versus 50% for the country as a whole. So sure, the stats say it's lower, but I'll deal with that in a second. And then I brought up the stat from the study there from Aaron Acevedo about less than 13% of people proclaiming that they're still in love with one another, and less than 3% proclaiming that they are in a state of bliss or obsession with one another, which is really the whole point of marriage. That's what most guys, I think, sort of expect if they're going to get down on a knee and present a woman with a piece of dinosaur shit on a ring and say, will you make my life miserable for the rest of my life? I think for the most part, when guys start going through that process, they're thinking, well, I love this woman so much, I don't want to go anywhere else, and she's the one that I want to spend the rest of my life with, and everything should be rainbows and butterflies for me. But statistically speaking, even if they're Christian Orthodox and they stay together, it sucks. If you don't love one another, what's the point in being married to them, living with them, exposing half of your shit to loss to them, the potential for them to alienate you from your own prodigy, your own children, if you don't even like that person and they don't like you? It was one of the arguments that I made. But the children, but the divorce rates. Okay, well, it doesn't matter where you go with it. You're always going to be wrong in a conversation like that. Monthly alimony may only be 10%, but it's fought for 100% of divorces, and many men pay a lump sum alimony to go on one clean break. That's also true. One of the things that I said over and over again that didn't really seem to sink in with him, and I don't know if he's just resistant to yielding or resistant to acknowledging reality. I don't think he's dumb. He doesn't come off as dumb to me, or he doesn't get it. I don't know. But it never really made sense to him. It was always going back to the argument, argue, which I guess maybe is what debaters do, or blood sport debaters, tend to do, if that's what you call it. So I don't get it. It's not my wheelhouse. It's new to me. I mean, I'd be happy to have another conversation, but I even said before we went live on the show, I said, I'd like to spend some time sort of talking about potential remedies, like solution to the problems. And he said to me, well, that's what I really like to talk about. But it didn't seem like we even got to that, because it was always adversarial, with him. But yeah, you can avoid all of that by just not getting married. You can avoid all of that by not living in a way that looks like marriage to the state. I'm very repetitive on that statement. Don't live in a way that looks like marriage to the government. Simple. If you do that, you can avoid the vast majority of the problems. You can avoid all of the problems if you don't have kids, if you don't live in a way that looks like marriage, completely. She changes her mind about you. She cheats on you. You don't like her anymore. You want to end it. You don't need to go through a lengthy process of filling out paperwork, dividing assets, fighting potential domestic violence, issues, getting locked up, having yourself hauled away from your own house. You don't deal with any of that. And the TradCon, the traditional conservative community, routinely, blows up marriage like it's the greatest thing since sliced bread, when it's not. Clearly, the statistics reveal that it's not. And even if you go on the argument of, well, only 10% of Christian Orthodox marriages end in divorce. We'll set aside the ones that are living in unhappy marriages because they're cowards, or they're too brainwashed, or they're too broke to leave, or they're too ugly to leave, or whatever happens to be. We'll set aside the 90%. So let's say that, using his prescribed 10% thing, that only 1 in 10 chances that you're going to get screwed. If how many people we got watching? Let's just use 100 people. If there's 100 of us, most planes will hold 150 people. We use 100. Let's say there's a plane that holds 100 people, and there's a whole bunch of them on the tarmac. Airline Air, whatever, Lingus has. We all buy a bunch of tickets and we all get on these planes. And if 1 in 10 of us die or are injured in a plane accident, okay, if 1 in 10 of those planes that take off and a lot of people on that plane as it goes down either die or are injured or maimed or mangled or whatever you want to call it, they would shut down flying completely. You understand that, right? Like they just would not allow planes to fly because the success rate is that low. So, when he said to me, well, you want it to be zero, and it's like, yes. Why is that confusing? Why do men have to fight to see their own children? Why do men have to give up half of their shit to women that they've only been married to for a few years that contributed nothing, that just take, right? That's the argument. But he didn't seem to get it. But using the same notion on something like flight, 10 aircraft take off, 1 of the 10 doesn't land at its destination, instead has a fiery crash, and a lot of people are injured or killed on that flight. Planes wouldn't fly anymore. They would completely shut down air travel because it's unsafe. And that's basically what happens for most guys going through the divorce grinder. They don't die, obviously. I mean, most of them don't. But I think if you talk to any guy that's been through a contentious, difficult divorce, like married to an absolute witch, in the comments right now, I'd like to see it. You guys can put it in the comments and you tell me. But I think a lot of guys would probably opt for the fiery plane crash to going through the divorce grinder again, if it's a difficult one. So you see what I'm saying, right? But guys like that, they don't get it. I don't think he's ever been divorced is really what it boils down to. I had somebody send me a video with some details. I jotted down some notes. Andrew and Rachel Wilson have an interesting situation. It's like, and there's a lot of people that, he won the debate, Rich. He mopped the floor with you. Did he? Did he now? Andrew Wilson married a woman that's 32 when he married her. He was 28. She had 2 kids when she was 21 and the 23 to the first guy that she was with, not married. And then the second baby daddy, apparently this guy named Chad, caught Rachel cheating and left her. And then they had a couple of kids together, Andrew and Rachel, during the time that they've been together. And apparently, Andrew proclaimed somewhere in a video, I haven't seen it, but proclaimed somewhere in a video that he forced Rachel to get a paternity test when they had one of their children. So that's interesting. I mean, that's your hero? That's who you think won? That's winning? Getting a single mom that's 4 years older than you with 3 kids in tow from 2 prior relationships, who was accused of cheating by one of them. That's the guy that you're worshiping. And again, I like a lot of the conversations I see him having. I'm not trying to be mean about it, but that's who you worship. The guy that can't open the pickle jar, right? The guy that talks in circles. Again, the whole debate thing it's just different to me. I just don't run with it. Let me see here. Unfortunately, he's brainwashed by religion. Yeah. I mean, is he one of the stats that are where they're still in love with one another? I don't know. I mean, it seems like they like each other. You can go look up Rachel on social media. I'm sure she's got an Instagram. She's not hot. She's kind of like, older single mom. Not very fit. That's, if that's what you want, then, follow his advice and go join the Christian Orthodox Church and find one of the gals that are in that, situation that goes to that church and marry him, have a couple kids with them, even if they got children from prior relationships. If that's what you want, right? I tell people to do whatever it is that they want. That's my take in life is do what you want, do what works for you. The other really weird thing too, Let's see here. There's a few more chats here about the topic, your solution. Enjoyed the debate. What would you have done differently looking back on it? I don't know, not much really. You know, like I said, I'd spent the week, because I was notified of this a week before. I'd spent the week listening to um, his conversations on marriage with James Sexton and other people in the space that talked to him about it. And it's like, he doesn't have a good argument. He doesn't have a leg to stand on. And he loses every single time on the facts. But, a friend of mine once said to me, some people, it's like playing chess with a pigeon. The pigeon will strut around, knock over all the pieces, shit on the board, and coo away like it won the game. And that's what, some of these situations end up looking like a lot of the times, right? Like, if I just keep talking enough or talk over people or I throw enough shit at them, it's a whole bullshit baffles brains. One of my friend's dads, when I was a kid, he used to run this circuit board company. I remember him saying, one time he was on a business call. I was very young. I was in my 20s. And he said something along the lines after he hung up the phone. He's like, one of these fucking guys, bullshit baffles brains. He just sort of thing. And it's like, what would I do differently? Not much, really. I'd rather focus on potential solutions and have it less argumentative, and let's collaborate on things. But that's just me. That's just how I work. I guess that's what you're to expect with a guy like that. Yeah. So, to this point of only 1% of women being marriageable at best, I'd agree with that, for the most part. And that's one of the points that I brought up is like, where are these guys going to find these marriageable women that potentially exist to invite into their lives? For a fact, you've sat down on these dating podcasts, you've done whatever podcasts, I don't know how many episodes they've done with him sitting on the panel, but it's the same thing every single time. And it's not like they're looking for idiots and bimbos. That's just what you get in those age demographics. They're mostly in their 20s, some in their 30s, but that's what you mostly get is unmarriageable women. Like, none of them you'd want to put a ring on and have babies with. I remember sort of summarizing the whole podcasting I did with Ladies Night with this notion. There's 3 categories of women. I tried to explain this to Andrew, but he didn't seem to get it during the conversation. There's absolutely useless ones, which are the vast majority. I would say 85, 90%. Then there's the wall smash ones who sort of come to the realization in their late 30s or early 40s that I'm absolutely right. There's no argument or debate. Everything you say, Rich, is correct. But it's too late for them because they're well past their prime. Their childbearing years are done. And they don't really offer much on the sexual marketplace. And then there's a very small contingent. In this guy's case, he's saying 1%. I would say maybe it's slightly more. Based on my experience with the conversations that I've had, I'd say probably somewhere between 2 to 5% that could be potentially mother stock. I wouldn't do marriage, as it's described in the West, but could potentially become mother stock. But you got to catch them young. You got to catch them before they pollute their minds with nonsense. You got to catch them before they, run through a lot of D. You just have to, you got to get them early. Gabriel, to your question about the book in Spanish, the first book is translated in Spanish. The second one will also be translated eventually. The audiobook's almost done. I've got about 100 pages left to read, but it's almost done. Let me see here. Expectation. Yeah. And, to this point over here, like, America is supposed to be a Christian country. It's supposed to be founded on Christian values. But very few people subscribe to Christian values. And, one of the problems with a lot of the churches today and the people that run the churches is, in order to bring enough of a congregation and to have a parish, if you will, they have to let in people that are, I would call, the undesirables. The Bonnie Blues of the world that run through a bunch of D, and then they go and, they try to repent and they get baptized and, they're born again or some nonsense like that. or the priest will try to push off, a single mom with a bunch of kids to people that attend his church. Oh, look at her, she's available. Yeah, she's available with three kids, four kids in tow from two, three, four different guys. That's what you get to pick from. Oh, you can't say enjoy the decline, Rich. Why not? Explain to me why not? Why can't you enjoy the decline? Why can't you see the landscape for what it is and then navigate it accordingly? Rich, do you think there's a difference between raising boys and girls? This has been my issue with any of the red pill dorks. Zero men raising boys to men. All you guys have girls. Yeah, there is a difference between raising boys and girls. Boys are to be taught how to become valuable and to make something out of themselves and become handsome. So they have to put work in. That's what you teach, your sons. And your daughters, you preserve their value. Don't be a whore. Don't share your body with a bunch of women. Don't go and climb corporate ladders and get degrees. Your prime years are in your early 20s. Leverage your beauty when it's most valuable on a sexual marketplace and find a husband and have children. So you tell women to go get married and preserve their value, and you tell men don't get married and make your value and structure your life in such a way that minimizes the risk. And those two things can exist. How can they exist? They're opposing, Rich. Yes. Good observation, retard. They are opposing. Very, very good observation. But there's still plenty of guys that are idiots, and there's plenty of women that'll go screw up the other side of the equation. So telling guys to do one thing and telling women to do another thing, they can still figure it out there on the open sexual marketplace. Very simple. Andrew is ashamed of marriage. He is very secretive about his first marriage. Oh, I didn't know that he was married initially. I didn't know he was divorced. Okay, well, he didn't have any kids from that marriage, apparently. He only had children with Rachel. The other weird thing, too, I don't know if you noticed it, but she sent a lot of super chats during the show. It's like, who wears the pants? Why? Just weird. And then I got some DMs from her afterwards on Twitter telling me to read her Substack articles on some nonsense. And I just replied with, my standard stuff. Here's what I do when chicks try to tell me what to do when it comes to, their beliefs. Yeah, a link to some article, read this thing here, blah, blah, blah. And I always tell them the same thing. I don't care about words. I only care about actions. The only rational move for women, if they want to prove that they actually care about men and they want to prove that they want to improve, the marketplace, the only rational move is to organize, protest, and petition to change family laws in such great numbers that the women can't be ignored. But that'll never happen because women don't want to do that. There's no advantage to them leveling the family law landscapes, the legislation, so that it's equal, so that it doesn't mistreat fathers. They never do that. It's always the same shit. Read my article, watch this video on blah, blah, blah. Like, ladies, turn off the fucking microphones. Nobody gives a shit. You're not doing anything to improve family law. You're not convincing men to go get married. Dumb ones will. Sorry, I misspoke. Dumb men will follow blindly. Right? They will follow the songs of these sirens, telling men that there's some good women out there. Just read my Substack article. Watch this long video about how amazing I am, and I'm a men's right activist as a woman. And I tell them the same thing all the time. Bullshit. Go get the ladies together in such vast numbers with your signs, and go and petition Parliament, Capitol Hill, legislator, whatever you happen to call it in your neighborhood, with numbers so great that they can't be ignored. But they never will ever do that. They just don't. Because why would they? They have such a strong advantage in family law. Why would you give that up? If I had that advantage, I wouldn't give it up, right? But I also wouldn't be walking around telling you that I'm so virtuous and better than fucking all these other guys or gals that are out there, if you know what I mean. Rachel is very clearly an alpha widow. I don't know not, enough about her shit. Yep, that's a fact of life. Andrew was married when he started cheating with Rachel. Oh, okay. Is that the yeah? That's what I heard. Yeah, that's the breakdown that I heard. You have to tap the jar at top. Always said it. If you plan to date a single mom, make sure the biological father is no longer in the. I wouldn't even even if he's not in the world, you're still cucking yourself. This is the point that I made in the chapter in my first book, The Unplugged Alpha. There's an entire chapter that breaks down why single moms are far less ideal than women without children. And I always hear this argument back from guys as well. What if she's a widow? What if the dad's not in the picture? Doesn't matter. You're still raising somebody else's seed. You're a cuck. You're signing up for your own cuckoldry, right? You are doing wrong for yourself, for your family name, for your lineage. There's no benefit whatsoever to taking on the responsibility of raising some other man's seed. It's just not wise from any angle. But the church says so go do it. Let's see what else. Wild to act Christianity has been a thing in North America. Only once have I ever dated a single mom, never again. That's usually what ends up happening. Is it's like a guy will have an experience, date a single mom, find out what it's all about, and then learns the juice isn't worth the squeeze, and they never do it again, or they shouldn't if they're smart. The only time you see guys sort of go back to it is because it's low hanging fruit, because it's easier, generally speaking, than gals without kids. I hate his debate style. It's pretty gay. It goes in circles. It doesn't, and he doesn't really listen. Like when you tell him, well, you can love a woman and have children with her, or not live in a way that looks like marriage, then you eliminate 2/3 of the problems. And it's like, dude, you're a smart guy. Like, how does that not register? Kept arguing, debating it. Well, alimony is only 10% of the time, blah, 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 whatever. You're still eliminating 2/3 of the problems, right? All you would have to do is be responsible for child support. You wouldn't lose half your shit. Oh, but the Christian Orthodox and this and that. And it's like, you're never going to win. It's like playing chess with a pigeon. It's going to strut around, shit on the board, and coo away like it won the game anyway. That's just how these things go, it seems. I think it works well with, some of these weirdo feminists and stuff like that. Jake, I'll get to you in a second. I see you there waiting for a question. Let me see here. Watch the entire debate. What brought you on top was your demeanor. Juiceman Walter Squeeze. I mean, it was my first time doing something like that. So, I don't know if I'd bother with it again. It's like I'd rather a more productive conversation. Okay, daughters need fathers. I know a lot of great women who come from single father households. Yeah, and fathers do a far better job than moms do raising children alone. When Andrew gets destroyed and divorced, he will join Unplugged Alpha. Here's what, somebody said to me, like, how do you think that's going to play out for him given the situation that he's in? I thought to myself, he's become a lot more popular lately. And usually what ends up happening is guys like that, even the Andrew Wilsons of the world, will have a fan base start to DM him, and there'll be some attractive women that'll reach out to him. I would not be surprised if he does something like Elijah Schaffer did, where he was tempted, haughty youngie. It plays out, and then there's another sex scandal with another TradCon couple. And I mean, why wouldn't he? You get something that's younger, hotter, and genuinely interested in you. That's probably the way that it would go. But I think his kids are growing up, so he wouldn't have to worry about child support. Congratulations, Andrew has done that 1,000 times. You stepped in the ring with Mike Tyson and defended your position well. I mean, I just pointed to the facts. I mean, I would have rather gotten in a boxing ring with a guy than sit there and argue with him. There would have been a lot. I mean, there would have been a lot more interesting things that would have happened that way than listen to a guy run around in circles around different points. Dumb men will always do dumb men stuff. Saw an article today saying something about Lewis Hamilton dating Kim Kardashian. Simps are going to simp no matter what. Yeah, I mean, Kim Kardashian, like these promiscuous women, they always land on their feet, don't they? They just always land on their feet eventually. So it doesn't matter how bad their choices are, what their past looks like, how many kids they got with a weirdo like Kanye West. There's always a guy that's ready to pick up the pieces and play the other man's save game. I'm 43. Okay. When it comes to debaters, it's all about winning rather than come out. Yeah, that's what I noticed. It's not about, you know, being productive and offering the audience some actionable, useful advice. Because what I saw is like just weirdos like thinking, "Oh, he won the blood sports debater. He won. He mopped the floor with you, or some nonsense like that." Yeah, did he? Again, did he really? You know, are you winning at life if you marry a woman 4 years older than you that came to the relationship with multiple children from different fathers in tow, and you go and have a couple more with this older chick who's not fit, she's out of shape, and then brag that your icon won. What do you win exactly? What do you win? There's nothing to win there. Sorry, here, let me drop the call-in link again. Call in and ask some guys are in the chat asking about the call-in. Yeah, we'll move to call-ins in a second. If you want to hit that link and call in, happy to take your call. Kim Kardashian's a billionaire. Sure, I mean, but so is Lewis Hamilton. I thought Lewis Hamilton was gay, to be honest with you. Some of the stuff that I've seen him wear and the way he kind of struts around, I think he might even be bi. I don't know. But I was a little bit surprised to see that. Same thing with Justin Trudeau and Katy Perry. I know for a fact that people that know his inside world, Justin Trudeau ain't straight-ish. He's probably bi. Yeah. Yeah, you guys keep chopping up those comments. I mean, I got nothing else to really summarize. It's just, I don't know. I mean, people are going to do what they're going to do. If they believe that religion's a good buffer, that there's this is something that's a ideal situation. Like, I try to have these conversations with these devout religious guys. And I've talked to Chase, Sovereign Bra. I like Chase. I had him on a podcast with another guy that he liked as well, and we were chopping up the notion of religion and Christianity and all that sort of stuff. It was a productive conversation. I've talked to Rich Tidwell, and my friend Kowalski, Rob, about polygyny. And, polygyny is an interesting thing too, because, from that end of the spectrum, it's pretty obvious in the book of Genesis that polygyny was occurring routinely throughout the book. It's never expressly prohibited or encouraged, but it would routinely happen. There was men with multiple wives who had a whole bunch of children. You want to fix some of the problems with the West, making polygyny illegal. I don't know that that's the best solution. That's something that I think I've heard Andrew call degenerate, which is just bullshit, because it's in your fucking Bible. It's in your rule book, right? Oh, the new one doesn't say that though. Well, how's that working out for you? You're getting replaced by the third world right now. Okay. Africa and India is out fucking the shit out of you and you're losing. And by the way, Africans don't have like one man, one woman. They're usually having children with multiple women routinely. That's just the way that it is. And then back to the whole like Rich Tidwell thing, conversation on polygyny. I had the conversation. I looked at his website and everything like that afterwards. And I see a picture of him with his family. And one of the chicks that he married was a single mom with Tyrone's kid. Do you really want to sign up for that? Is that your plan? Is that your strategy? I don't know. I don't get it. I don't get it. I've said this many times. Men love complicating their lives and then justifying why they do it. They just love it. Did you bring up that Hinduism actually has the lowest divorce rates? Yes, I did actually. It's like 5%. And I said, if you're going to push for lower divorce rates and better outcomes, you should be pushing for Hinduism, not Christian Orthodoxy, which is 10 to 25% divorce rates. Rich, I don't think Andrew would make it out of the first round with you without lighting another cigarette. He would be gassed. I mean, I trained for 3.5 years in boxing, and granted, I haven't trained regularly, but he would lose in the first 25 seconds. He would just be gassed. I know what it's like. It's very, very hard. Okay, let me grab some of these calls. So let's take Travis over here. We'll start with this. Travis, what's up, buddy?
Hey, Rich. What do you think's a good age gap where you would say too old, just right, sweet spot, and kind of on the fence?
For children?
Yeah, sure. Let's go children and or dating.
Well, the younger the better, in my opinion. Right? I mean, even if you're 30, 40, 50, the younger the better, because that way you can have more kids with her. There's also less baggage, too. Like, when you deal with younger women, they tend to have less baggage, less chance of being alpha widowed. They've gone through less D. There's nothing but upsides and advantages. Throughout history, younger women have always been prized for their beauty and their youth. Older women, not so much. They're just not as valuable. And that's just the reality of the sexual marketplace, whereas men's value goes up. So, I mean, as long as they're, consenting adults, 21, 22, 23 is generally ideal, I would say.
In the book of Rich Cooper, if we're using the Andrew Wilson example, where I think you said she was 4 years, or was it 6 years older than him?
She's Rachel's 4 years older than him, is what I understand. So he was 28 and she was 32 when they met.
Isn't that not pretty much on par your typical age of men getting married and women getting married? I mean, I think she might be a year or two over the average, but that's pretty much right around then, right?
Yeah, I don't know how long ago that was. Probably 10, 15 years ago, I would say. I think the age of marriage has been around the late 20s for most people around that time. But like, there's nothing ideal about a single mom with 3 kids already who's 32. Like, tell me you don't have options without telling me you don't have better options.
Amen. Amen.
You know what I'm saying?
No, I agree. I totally agree. Yeah. But if we're using that as the benchmark, so 4 years older, too old, obviously. Let's say they're 28 and 28, or 28, 26. Like, where is the sliding scale of like, this is okay, acceptable? Like, no, that's a little too much. That's just right there. If we're using 30 as the benchmark.
What are you talking about? Age gap difference?
Yeah, male, female.
7 to 15 years usually. I mean, look, if you're my age and then you're dating like a 22-year-old, they're usually not that mature. All right, like they're usually going to be a little bit of an idiot bimbo sort of thing. So there's kind of like a space there where it's just not going to be productive for you. But lots of guys do it. I mean, I know lots of guys that are in their late 40s or early 50s that date much younger into their 20s. They usually don't take them very seriously, though, right? Like, they're just there for fun. The girls are there for the money and the status, and the guys are there for the beauty and the sex.
All right. Thanks for answering my question.
Yeah, man. See you, bud. Let's grab David over here next. David, what do you got for me, buddy?
Yo, what up, Rich? Can you hear me?
What's on your mind, man? What do you got?
Yeah, so during the whole debate, like, I couldn't help but think, like, if I'm looking at two guys, I'm looking at Rich and I'm looking at Andrew. Whose life do I want? You know what I mean? Like, do I want to live Andrew? Like, the whole masculine imperative is like lead by example. So, like, why would I want to be someone like Andrew instead of someone like Rich? Like, Rich, you drive supercars, you're super rich. Like, yeah, you've had troubles with women in the past, but like, you've woken up. You know what I mean? And Andrew, he's just not there yet. You know?
Well, he subscribes to his Christian Orthodox values, so that's his shtick, right? Like mine's different. Like one of the things that I found interesting was one of the counter arguments that he made to not living with a woman and eliminating 2/3 of the risk with family law is, well, that's not reasonable for guys just to make more money, to put themselves in a situation where they can afford to pay for two households. Well, what's easier? Let me ask you this. So, what's easier? Petitioning government to change family law so it doesn't ruin guys, or making a little bit more money so you can cover two households? And what's more within your control?
Right. And like, if I'm gonna sit here, if I'm gonna play devil's advocate and try to like steelman Andrew's position, like his position is like, okay, you got to have both parents in the household to take care of the kids the proper way. But it's like, dude, when you were growing up, did you know that your parents were married? Did you know that?
No.
Like nobody knew that. Like I didn't know that when I was growing up. It was just like I have a mom and I have a dad. Like there doesn't need to be a piece of paper that the government signs off on
Correct.
to like enforce all this stuff. So it's like no matter which way you look at his argument, it's like you can always pick it apart. And it's like, okay, if he wants to preach this sort of like it's like virtue signaling, like, oh, you got to be married because it's the right thing to do. It's what the book tells you to do.
Yeah.
It's what our cult tells you to do, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like my whole thing is like he just doesn't understand that like the court system is not set up
No, I
in
think he
favor of men.
understands, but his thinking seems to be that, well, if you just subscribe to this belief system of Christian orthodoxy, the chances of you getting divorced go down dramatically. But then he forgets the reality that there's a lot of Christian Orthodox men that are living in sexless marriages where they hate each other, right? And they're just staying together because that's what the Book of Rules tells them to do, right? So is that successful, living with somebody that you don't like, that you're not fucking, or that you're cheating
Right.
on? Like, is that successful, right? Like, you got to ask these questions. And I don't think that the current environment today out there on a sexual marketplace for men, it's not wise to get married. It's just not. It just doesn't make sense to me. And I think he understands that, but he just doesn't want to acknowledge that somebody else is right because he wants to argue his position over and over again.
Yeah, it's like he's stuck in this mindset of like, okay, this is what God tells us to do. And I'll admit, like I'll give him credence in the fact that like there is some sort of like noble aspect to saying like, okay, I'm gonna follow this and I'm not gonna deviate from it. But it's like, dude, like people like Andrew, they have absolutely no idea how rigged the game is against men today because he hasn't had to live it. He hasn't had to experience it. Like he's been married for
Somebody said
I
in the
mean
comments that he was divorced at one point. So I don't know what the story with that is. When I brought it up during the conversation, he completely dodged it. I asked him, if he's ever been divorced, if he had kids from a prior marriage. He just dodged it completely. So I
and
don't
I
know
mean
what's
more
there that
about
he's trying to
dating.
avoid.
Like and I'm talking more about dating. Like yeah, divorce too, like 100%. But like even with just modern dating, it's like, dude, he doesn't even realize how like rigged dating is against men today and how
No,
like
I think he
much
does.
more
Like
difficult.
to his credit, I think he does because he sat there on the whatever podcast talking to these bimbos. I don't know how many times now. So he must have the understanding. I just think that he just casts it aside because he's so into the notion that the argument of Christian orthodoxy solves the problems and is the best thing for the children, right? And it's
Mhm,
like I'll put my kid up against his kid all day long, and I bet my
mhm.
kid's going to come out better even though I'm divorced and we live in separate households and we share custody.
Yeah, and it goes back to my point, like, the kid's
But
not gonna know
just because you
whether
stay together,
yeah,
it doesn't mean that's successful. You could be
mm,
broke as shit and like not know how to teach children how to become adults, right? You could be a crappy parent. Just because you're good at arguing with people doesn't mean you're a good parent. It doesn't mean that you're going to send your children off into the world. Like Donald Trump is a very obvious example to me because all of his children aren't losers. They're all very successful. And Trump's been married like 3 times. He's, grab her by the pussy guy. Like he's been through a lot of chicks. Like he's a player, right? But all of his kids are all winners, right? I think like the one that he had with the second wife, Tiffany or whatever her name is, she's kind of like an unknown. But the vast majority of his kids are all winners, right? So you can't say that this model is better because my book of rules says so or my religion says so. But there's just too many points missed. And it's like, if you keep talking over people and you say it loud enough and you keep running back to the points like you think you're going to be right, it doesn't work that way. But people love that shit, right? Like you'll notice if you go, look at comments and stuff like that, people love the fact that, he's like an armchair tough guy. Because I think a lot of guys out there today, they're weak, they're plugged in beta males. They all kind of act and behave the same way. So it's like, he's my icon. He's the guy that I'm going to worship.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys today that like I see this all the time. Like everyone's always asking permission from their guru to like, oh, is this age gap like just an example, the last caller, he's like, oh, is this age gap appropriate? It's like, dude, like you're a man, bro. Like you decide, like you make your own rules in this life. Like you don't have to listen to what all these people tell you. Like
That's
whether
what
it's
I
Andrew Wilson or it's Andrew Tate or even
Great
Rich.
point.
I mean,
Yeah, and that's exactly what I try to teach guys to do is to think for themselves. Like I want to brainwash men into thinking for themselves. And people go, well, that means you're going to lose customers. I don't care. I'm not here to think for you for the rest of your life. You should learn how to unplug from society's comforting lies and think for yourself. Like that's the point of my books, is to educate you on these facts and these differences, right? How old are you, David?
I'm 29.
Okay. What about the what did you think of the quote unquote debate overall?
I mean, like I see where Andrew's coming from, you know what I mean? Like he wants what's best for the kids, but it's like, dude, he doesn't realize that it's like, bro, kids are not grown adults. Like they don't understand the court system. They don't understand all this stuff that we get, So he's like projecting his own like knowledge and of everything onto his children. It's like, dude, they don't know the difference. Like if you're around enough,
I would agree with that.
then you can raise your kids effectively. You don't need the state to give you permission to raise your kids.
Yep, I agree with that. I got to grab a few other guys, David. Thanks for hopping in, man.
Yeah, thanks.
See ya. You guys can grab that link. Here, I'll drop it again one more time. What time is it now? 8:18. Let me just run a quick ad and grab a drink and a break here, and I'll be right back, guys. Just need a quick few minutes. This episode is sponsored by yours truly. Gentlemen, if you're new here, your starting point is to get on my email list and join 50,000 other readers. Just scroll down and opt in over here with your information. And that's where you can download the free chapters on the 21 red flags to avoid and the 16 green flags to seek in long-term relationships. Just navigate to entrepreneursandcars.com/red-flags and get started there. Beyond that, there's book 1, The Unplugged Alpha, which has sold over 250,000 copies and summarizes the way the world and women truly work. And then there's book 2, recently released, The Top Shelf Man, which takes you far deeper down the rabbit hole and is about how the top 5% of men get everything they want out of life and women. Both books are very highly rated. I guarantee that you'll love them both. You can find them on Amazon. Now, brothers, if you're like me and you take what you put in your body very seriously, you're going to want to use the Unplugged Alpha supplement line. It's the obsession with engineering higher absorption rates that sets my line apart from the others. You want to make sure that you absorb as much of the supplements as possible so you don't end up peeing out expensive urine and wasting your money. My supplement line is made in the United States from the highest quality ingredients, and unlike your typical cheap supplements in plastic bottles that originated from China, only quality supplements ship in dark glass bottles to keep your supplements fresher, longer, and don't seep endocrine-disrupting microplastics into your supplements that end up in your body. You can filter all products by your goals, including testosterone support, estrogen metabolism, fat burning, sleep support, and performance. Just visit theunpluggedalpha.com/shop and use the subscribe and save option to get 10% off your recurring supplement orders. Or check out my brand new testosterone bundle and save as much as 18% when you stack them all together. And lastly, if you've enjoyed my books and video content, you're going to absolutely love the School of Unplugging, which is my private community for men. Inside, you'll find over 50 hours of never before seen videos in a private classroom setting that'll teach you how to level up and apply the 7 spokes of a high value man to your life so that you can get the results that you're looking for. You can just copy and paste all the simple formulas to success on wealth creation, improving your looks, status, captivation, game, frame, and so much more with other men on their own unplugging journey. There's also a well-organized discussion board, meetups in real life, weekly Zoom calls that are recorded, held by me and my team of experts, all for a monthly membership that costs less than a cup of coffee, and there is brand new content being added every single month. The calendar tab makes spotting exactly what it is that you're looking for very simple, and all you do is you add it to your own calendar. See the description below for a link to everything I just mentioned above, or visit richcooper.ca, and on the courses tab, you can navigate to the School of Unplugging. Guys, make sure you check out the rest of my personal website and everything else, or to request a private one-on-one consultation with me. Now let's get on with the show. Okay, we're back. Let's grab Big Guy next, see what you got. Big Guy, what's up, buddy?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep, you're good, man. We got
Great.
you tonight.
I think I called in about a month or 3 months ago when I broke up with my girlfriend with a long-term crazy kid.
Okay.
Yeah, but discipline yourself to be the best you can be, and you will get the best results you can get. And what I've learned from you, this is so weird. I'm 43, and now I have a 24-year-old pretty much girlfriend now.
Nice. How's that going?
It's so much different. So what do you call it? Beat? What do they have, like genuine burning desire?
GBD, yeah. Genuine burning desire.
She works at a steakhouse being a waitress.
Mm-hmm.
She's bringing me over all these extra meals, and she's like, honey, are you hungry? And she's like worried about if I'm hungry. And like my other girlfriends, they're working at government jobs.
Mm-hmm.
They don't care about me.
Yep. Now both girls are like that.
She cares about me.
That's good.
But it's just the age gap difference I'm worried about.
What are you worried about?
I don't know. I'm 43.
Yeah.
My kids are your kid's age, and she doesn't have kids, so I got snipped and everything. But
yeah,
I don't know.
Man, like as long as you're impressive to her, you've created renown for yourself. You don't get lazy. You keep yourself in good shape. You're on top of cardiovascular health, so you can take care of her in the bedroom. She's not going to go anywhere, right? Like if you're the best that she can do, she's not going anywhere.
This is something that I want to tell you today. I looked it up on ChatGPT, and my family noticed it. Mm-hmm. My hair grew back, and my grayness went away.
There you go. The stress went away. It's crazy. Yeah, like stress is a killer for a lot of things. Graying hair loss, premature aging, all kinds of shit. Yeah. So good for you. All right. So that's just a share. You just want, okay. Well, he's gone. Yeah. Somebody made a point over here that I just want to address real quick. One womb, 3 different men. Andrew is last in line. Yeah. Like one of the things that you heard Kevin Samuels talk about, from time to time with some of these call-in gals is like, not only have these women shared their body with multiple men, but they've also shared their womb with other men, right? It's like, you're going to put your seed in there, the same place where other men's seed has been. It's a fair argument that he's made, right? Like, this is why purity and beauty has always been valued throughout history by successful men of influence, power, and renown. That's what they go for. It's only those that don't have access to that go for low-hanging fruit because that's all they can do, right? Andy, what's up, buddy? You're muted.
Hey, Rich.
Yeah, what's off your face? Go ahead.
Everything good?
Yep.
All right. So, Yeah, I watched the debate and it was kind of interesting. I think Andrew's approach is basically he sits right up front, close to the microphone, and he does this like rapid fire verbal diarrhea that
Yep.
is like really, really. It's like overloads the brain and it's hard to process
Yep.
and it's difficult to respond to. But what was interesting though is that he breaks down all these success and failure rates of marriage based on religious groups and whatnot. And
Mhm.
if you look at which ones are the most successful, it's the Amish, right? Or the Mennonites, right? What do we
It's the
know about them?
Hindus. It's the
Well,
Hindus.
the Hindus are up there too, but
Yep.
so like the Amish maybe potentially combine kind of like two of both of the best of both worlds, right? They have virgins that they get, I'm assuming, right?
Mhm.
They're not running around being hoes, and a combination of that with arranged marriage, which
Mhm.
potentially is what makes Hindus more successful, right?
Yep.
And so, okay, if you can get that, great, go ahead and get married. But like in today's world, with outside of those communities, it's almost impossible. So it's a terrible idea.
Yeah.
I think in terms of like the family structure, where it's in the perfect world, it's best to have the mother and the loving father and the loving mother, and the kids are there, and everything is happy and sunshine and roses. But in reality, it's not how it works. Parents work. You're as a dad, you're not there 100% of the time, right? The kids are maybe in school, they may be in activities and whatnot. So, like having a separated household without the marriage is not really like the end of the world. It's not that much different than actually being married, but there are benefits to it. And me myself,
Yep.
having lived through it, and having the divorce and whatnot, and spending all this money on divorce and paying her out and whatnot, and instead of spending it on my own kids, giving it to some lawyers' kids, roughly speaking, it's like, bro, like it can all be avoided. And one thing
Yep.
that I thought you could mention too, you could have mentioned, was the failures of these super high profile rich men, like this footballer guy, or the Euro footballer guy, Kaká, and this guy who I forget his name, Brady, somebody,
Tom Brady.
yeah, Tom Brady
Yep.
and whatnot. And there's plenty of others, high profile, super rich, wealthy, successful. There's also this one basketball player recently came up with his wife, fat wife, disrespecting him on
Yep.
some podcast, or even Akash. It's like, bro, if these dudes who provide everything that any woman could want ever, you know what I mean, multi-million-dollar mansions and freaking yachts and private islands and whatever the heck, if they can get it done, like why would why would anyone else do
The,
it? You know what I mean?
the real issue is that the incentives exist for women to leave men because they take his money, right? Like the court enforces his financial obligations to her post divorce. The court does not enforce any of her obligations to him post divorce. She doesn't have to keep loving him. She doesn't have to keep fucking him after the marriage ends, but he has to keep paying her after the marriage ends. And that's the real problem. Like that's the great evil that exists within family law, is that it's usually the men, because women are hypergamous and they marry up, that end up paying the brunt of what happens with family law. And women don't care. Like they want everything. Like you talk to any family lawyer or anybody that deals in family law, the guys will go into their lawyer, and I've talked to lawyers about this. The guys come in and be like, "Yeah, I just want to untie the knot, wrap things up, and let's get a custody arrangement, where we can share the kids." And it's like women will come in and they'll be like, "I want to fucking murder him and take everything." Like that's just the way that women are in situations like that. And everything with family law helps her achieve that goal, right? And I don't care if the divorce rate's 1%. It's just not worth it. Smart men don't marry. They just don't put themselves in an environment where that risk factor exists. And then beyond that, you've got the issues with people being in close proximity and being familiar and given full exclusivity that ruins long-term romance and love. And then you have other problems living with, women and DV charges and all this other nonsense. And you have to give up all other optionality just to be with one chick for the rest of your life, because that's what the fucking law says, right? Like that's what the courts say. That's what the religion says, right? It like none of it makes any sense. The only people that are getting married today are plugged in beta males. That's it.
I would think so. Yeah.
I've
Actually,
been there.
one.
I'll put my
Yeah.
hand up. Okay. Like I was there at one point. I did it too.
Yeah. When my marriage was kind of on the rocks, one of the things that I actually proposed to her was like, why don't we live separate places and just see how it goes? You know what I mean? Maybe it will help. Oh, she refused. You know what I mean? It's like, oh my God, anything that didn't fit her whatever view of what a marriage should be, like we have to be together all the time and this and that, just
Mhm.
was rejected. What was kind of interesting too, I just thought of it a while ago after I've divorced, I dated around a little bit, got on the apps. I was out of the game for quite some time, and that was like right around the beginning of the woke era and the online dating and all the degeneracy and whatnot. So Tinder's, but I also was on a Russian dating website or the Russian speaking one, and I chatted for a while with some lady from Ukraine. She was like 27 at the time
Mhm.
and 10 years younger than me. And basically, like what she wanted me to do is to go to Ukraine, impregnate her, and let the kid live there while I would live here. Like she wasn't interested in coming to the US. And I obviously have my kids here and my
Yeah, she
job,
wanted the
so I
money.
couldn't live there. What was that?
She wanted the money.
Yeah, yeah. She wanted the mom. I'm glad I didn't do it. And she kind of like went all psycho after I asked her body count.
Sure.
Yeah, yeah. She said it was only two. I'm like, ah. And she's, by the way, she claimed to be like very religious, Russian Orthodox. And it's like, brah, you know what I mean? If you're going to be religious, like stick with the religion. Why are you running around? Why are you not married at 27 if you've had two boyfriends?
Mhm.
Probably, and she was hot, like really good looking,
Mhm.
but probably crazy,
Yeah.
So I avoided that.
Yeah.
Um,
Bullet dodged.
yeah, definitely, definitely. So, anyway, maybe they can say whatever they want. They can say Andrew won the debate. Yeah, he certainly out talked you, but I don't remember most of what he said. It was just like, and
Yeah.
I think you won because I didn't get persuaded otherwise. And for any guy out there who's gone through the grinder, through the divorce grinder, it'd be kind of dumb to do it again. You know what I mean? It'd be kind of like Bart Simpson in that cartoon where it just like keeps getting zapped by electricity and just doing it over and over. It's like, bro, you got to be smarter than that.
Most guys would rather stick their dick in a wood chipper than to live the life that Andrew Wilson lives with his, wife.
Yeah, dude, that's a very strange
Entire
situation to me. I don't
situation.
want to like
Bizarre.
criticize the internal affairs of other people's family life, but even I did marry a single mom. It was a huge mistake. Like
Every single guy that's told me that story says the exact same thing.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't regret having kids and all that, and it's all great and blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
But I literally spend maybe as much time with my own kids as some random dude that she's now married to. You know what I mean? That's
Correct.
just wrong. That's
Correct.
just wrong. I don't
Yeah,
like that.
and it should be spoken that way. Like we should say that is wrong. You fucked up, lady, right? And guys shouldn't have to swoop in or be told, well, make a concession, compromise. It's okay. She's got one kid. What's the big deal? It's okay. She's got three kids from two different men. What's the big deal? It's like you give an inch and they want to take two, and they want to shove more down your throat. It's like, no, I mean, look, if you're successful, if you're competent, if you've developed renown for yourself, if you have money, you're not going to take on the burden of that nonsense. Most
Yeah.
guys, given the option, will choose the younger, more fertile, more prettier woman that doesn't have children in tow. It's less problematic. I don't care how you want to argue the point. The fact still remains is it's a better deal for men, right? That's just the way
Most
it is.
definitely. Most definitely. And I had this weird feeling when I was getting involved with a single mom. And I thought it was just me being insecure or whatever. And
No,
I can
that's
provide
your
for her. But that
that's your
weird
biology
feeling,
warning you, man. That's your
yeah, dude.
DNA telling you,
Yeah,
Andy, you sure you want
it
to do
was.
this?
It was.
You
That
sure you
feeling
really
was the
want to do this,
feeling
right?
of cuckoldery. So I think there's like levels to it. You know what I mean? Low
Tell the
level and high
cucks, call
level.
it out.
From dating a
Tell them that
single
they're cucks.
mom all the way to sitting in that proverbial chair. Maybe even it
It's all the
starts
same
with
thing.
like not dating a virgin, you know what I
It's
mean?
all the
Because
same
other
thing.
men's have been there, and all the way
All
to
the same
actually
thing.
being there with another man. It's like a spectrum, you know what I mean? It's like spectrum of autism, it's spectrum of cuckoldery, and
It's
some men sign
exactly.
up for it. I did it. I hated it. I
I
didn't
know.
like it. It was constantly present, and like it was just terrible,
I
terrible.
dated it. Like I dated a single
Yeah,
mom, so I
yeah,
know exactly what it's like.
yeah,
You get introduced to their kids, you're expected to, behave like a parent, but you don't have any authority over the kids, but you got to pay for shit. You got to entertain them and play all these. It's just not worth it. It's just not worth it.
yeah.
I'm gonna
A
grab a few
friend
of
of
these other
mine.
guys, Andy.
Oh,
We'll talk
okay.
to you
Yeah,
next.
all right. I could check.
Yeah.
I just
Okay.
wanted to briefly mention, by the way, you mentioned Borjomi. Thanks for
Barjoni, yeah.
reminding me about, yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like a mineral water, in the league of its own.
Dude, it's the best mineral water. What I do is I'll get cases from like the Russian store. I get cases of it in glass bottles, and I'll mix my Alpha Pump solution in it and my amino acid solution. You know, my supplement line from up here. It's amazing in that water. That's all I drink when I go to the gym. But
I'll give it a
that's
try.
me, right?
I gotta put in another order from your store. Your
Yeah.
aminos are still unbeatable. I gotta order some more, and I haven't tried the Alpha Pump. but
Mix it with
we'll
the
give it a try.
Barjoni and some ice. You're gonna love it. Trust me.
Yeah.
I'll see you
We'll give
later.
it a try. All right, thanks.
Cheers. I think this guy over here looks familiar. I think he was in my DMs on X. Plutarch. Plutarch. Am I pronouncing that right?
Plutarch, yes, that's me.
Was that you that was in my DMs?
That was me.
Oh, okay. All right.
So I don't have a question for you, but
You got to share. Okay.
yeah, well, we were after the debate, we were questioning some of the data that he presented.
Okay.
And we actually looked it up. We used Grok. I know all the warnings about AI apply,
Sure.
guys. And he keeps quoting the 9% number, right? You probably heard that.
Yeah. Well, it looked like 9 to 25%, depending on the denomination of Christianity. But yeah.
Well, okay. So that number comes from the currently divorced. And as I was looking through this, Grok, as it was processing, said, oh, there's a difference between currently divorced and ever divorced.
Okay.
Now, where things get interesting is they have data for Protestants and Catholics. So Catholics, ever divorced is 34%.
Okay.
They don't have data for Orthodox Christians. So
Okay.
Grok estimated that it's about 25%, but
Okay.
it literally just did it could be in this range. So
Okay.
he was quoting you one number and then comparing it to a different number,
Yep.
which is statistically irrelevant. Like he's not making an apples to apples comparison.
Yeah.
That bothered us, and I just wanted to log in and let people know that the actual data is not that kind to Christianity.
Yeah, I mean, the data sucks. Like, I know the data sucks. Like, I talk to so many people, man, and like I've had so many consults with guys going through the divorce grind, and I've heard their stories. And even if you take a look at people that follow you on something like Facebook, where people kind of have like an intimate circle of maybe 100 people that they know. I mean, if I were to go to my Facebook and I look at every single married couple that I know, that their lives, right? Like you hang out with them, you've seen their children running around in the summertime, you see them at Christmas or birthdays or whatever, or a travel event or something. Like, you take a look at those 100 people, the vast majority of them, they don't really like each other. Marriage as an instrument, as a tool, whatever it is you want to call it, is rather unsuccessful. But I get the arguments, like the church really pushes it hard, and you got to have children and reproduction and all that sort of stuff. But it's not a very successful tool. And with state running it and with family law sort of influencing a lot of these outcomes, it just doesn't make sense for men today. It's like the potential for a successful marriage. And I only know like one or two people that would have what they would call a successful marriage. But I also know them so intimately well that I've seen them fight with their spouse for days over ridiculous shit. Like, I remember I was on this conference weekend once with one of my best friends, and he's got what I would call a quote unquote very successful marriage. They love each other. They got 2 great kids. They're productive children. They're very successful in the business. They have lots of money. He didn't come to the conference for 2 days straight because he was stuck in the room arguing with his wife because she was accusing him of cheating because something came up within the business. And he's sending her flowers, and I would leave at 8 o'clock in the morning and stop by at lunch. Hey, is everything okay? Still arguing with her, come back at 5, like a lot of this shit you can just avoid. Just, you can love a woman, not live with her. You can have children with her, not live with her. Just, there's ways around a lot of this. But, when you start inviting these conversations and offering some potential solutions, the plugged in beta males, they just hate it. They just hate it. They just lose their shit. That's degenerate. You can't do it that way. That's not the way God intended, or whatever,
Well, to be perfectly honest, a lot of Christians have very clearly never read the Bible.
Yeah.
I personally, and I mean, you've met Pastor Nick Barnes. He's been on your show a couple times. He went through a divorce, lost his 7 kids in the divorce.
Mm-hmm.
And we would tell you, don't get married. Don't. as Christians, like I am too. I grew up there. I don't go to church anymore. But even Pastor Nick would say, no, don't do it. Is it a good thing historically? Can it be used to improve the lives of children? Yeah, the data says that it can. But the way we do it today doesn't work at all.
And that's my point essentially, is the way that it's done today does not work. I mean, there's clear evidence that it does not work. It can work well for women. It's lower risk and higher reward for women, but it's higher risk and lower reward for men. So from the again, I said earlier, like the conversation you have with your sons versus your daughters are very different, right? You would encourage your daughter to get married given the climate. You would tell your sons, you need to be really fucking smart about how you navigate life.
Right. And I mean, there's I have tons of notes from that debate, but Andrew is also not as, I don't even think he is as theologically grounded as he comes across as.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem is I don't know who is qualified to go up against him in that environment that you were discussing, where he's just constantly hammering you, and hold his feet to the fire on, well, the Bible actually really says this, because the Bible says some pretty dark things.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Apostle Paul says that he would rather men not get married. Like it's
mm-hmm.
right there.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, so who knows? But
yeah, and I tried to give it a good shake. I mean, I've started to watch videos on like, the book of Genesis and like other parts of the Bible to sort of understand where these like, devout religious guys are coming from. And it's like, there's so many things that I come across in these scriptures that just don't add up based on the way that things are lived today. Like polygyny is the one that I keep going back to, right? The book of Genesis, there's plenty of examples of polygyny that aren't condemned or encouraged, but exist. And it's like, today we live in an environment where you're not allowed to have more than one wife. But the most successful cultures today have multiple wives with many children. So if you want your religion or if you want your culture to succeed, it would make sense that the most successful and most resourceful men would have a bunch of women and a whole bunch of kids with them.
Well, the data on polygyny is mixed, because a lot of those cultures also were not able to achieve what monogamous Western European culture was able to achieve. So
yeah, and that's a point that I heard Andrew make as well too. And to that point, I mean, religion and monogamy didn't exist when the pyramids were created, when Saskatchewan was created, like all these megalithic structures that cannot be replicated today. Engineers have looked at the pyramids of Giza and they cannot make them today with the construction methods that exist. So we've got ancient civilizations that were far more advanced than we are today, and religion didn't exist. Monogamy did not exist back then.
Well, I am not going to say I am qualified to dive into what's best here. My point here was mostly that Christianity itself is not as simple as guys like Andrew want to make it out to be.
Yeah, it's not cut and dry. Absolutely.
Right.
We can definitely agree on that.
And so somebody needs to, with an actual pedigree, who he has to acknowledge needs to hold his feet to the fire on that. It won't be me.
I don't think that if somebody came along and said, yeah, I can handle this guy, he would still find reasons to tell him that he's wrong. He would still dance around it, because that's the kind of guy that he is, right? Like he doesn't want to acknowledge defeat. He doesn't want to acknowledge that somebody's point makes sense. Like he just acts stupid when you explain things to him that way, or ignorant. I don't know what the best way to sort of explain it, but it's the whole thing going back to the pigeon and playing chess with a pigeon, right? It's like it's going to strut around and shit on the board and coo away like it won anyway, and that's his style of debate. And people love that. People really do like that. It's very clear and obvious to me that a lot of people follow that method. But you go exchange lives with him. You go live in his shoes and you tell me if that's the way that you'd want to live.
No, sorry, I will not do that.
I'm very happy with my resume, and I want to keep it that way.
Right. As far as taking him on, if anyone were to do it, my recommendation would be, don't do it to try and convince him, because you never will. But maybe some other Christian men will hear it and go, oh, I hadn't thought about this. wow, somebody is quoting scripture and Andrew's sitting there going, but this and that. And,
Yeah.
I personally think he's hiding some fears that his God is not big enough to handle. That's my opinion.
Mhm.
People can make of that what they will. I just thought it was interesting that people don't talk about this concept of currently divorced versus ever divorced, because speaking from my divorce experience and talking to other men about it, the first one is the worst.
Oh yeah, it's always the worst. The first one's 100% the worst.
So really, you don't want to go through the first one, and I think that's where Andrew kind of loses the argument. So
well, appreciate
you,
you chiming in again, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thanks. Let me grab a few more callers here. I think this guy called in. Big guy, did you call in already?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, did you have something else?
This guy is a pussy. So I grew up as a Jehovah's Witness.
Okay.
And now everybody these days is crying about how they were bullied and this and that. Could you imagine being grew up as a Jehovah's Witness, being put in the hallway because you don't celebrate Christmas and Halloween before a religion that you believe in?
Mm-hmm.
But now it's like, oh, if you're Muslim, everyone has to bow to you. And I got bullied really bad. And I'm sure you can figure out where I'm coming from, but like, I don't know. A lot of people are soft these days. I got bullied very hard. And I still have like good moral beliefs. And I think, I don't know where I'm coming from. I'm just like calling in because before I called in about dating a younger chick, but now these guys are pussies. I don't know.
Okay. Well, I'll pull the next guy, but I get your point. Okay. Thanks, man. Let me grab Drew over here. He's been waiting. Drew, what do you got for me, buddy? Okay. Well, I'll pull the next guy, but I get your point. Okay. Thanks, man. You're going to have to turn down the volume on your YouTube. It's conflicting. Can you hear me?
Hello?
Yeah.
I turned it off. Can you hear me?
Yeah. What do you got for me, man?
How you doing?
Good. Talk to me, man. What do you got?
Sorry, I'm getting like an echo. I think it's. Oh wait, hold on. Sorry, 1 second. Fuck.
Here, I'll come back. I'll let you figure that out. DL Saint, what's up, buddy?
Hey, what's good, brother? Well done. Well done, Front. I told you I'd watch it, and I saw it, and I sat there, and I watched it.
I mean, I wish I'd have done better. It's not my best work, but, first time for that.
It's the first time out, man. First time I jumped out of an airplane, bro. I looked like a fallen piece of shit. I ain't gonna lie to you. But by jump 5, I had it squared away. But I will tell you this. I've watched a little bit of Andrew's content, man. He was nervous. In my opinion, he was visibly nervous. He knew he was. You might have been a newbie, but he was a little nervous, man. And he failed to do what he normally does. I mean, I like his content. Like Andrew wasn't. It's cool with it. I like it when they actually have good conversations, or a real debate. I don't like you said, just strutting around and and dumping on the board and all that. But he failed to pull you in and get you into your emotions. And that's normally his kill move. He gets someone, knocks them off their square, gets them into their emotions, and then he kind of jumps in there. He couldn't do that with you. And I thought that was good, especially for the young cats to see. Like, bro, stand on your square. No need to get emotional. You always brought it back down. There were moments like he's trying to elevate it, and you just bring it right back down. That was excellent. And then off topic, just in general, with a lot of these dudes out here, in your opinion on this, I'm finding that guys, the invisible guys out there who begin to do the work, get into the gym, become competent, start making money, work on their style, their look, hygiene and stuff like that. Doing everything that women like. And now these guys are visible, right? They're making the money. They got their social skills together a little bit. And then a couple of attractive women notice them and begin to interact with them. And these dudes almost to a T, like all of them, revert back to the beta traits that they used to do.
Yeah. No, I've noticed that.
And I'm having, I try to help. You warned me years ago. You're like, don't do this, but I did it anyway. Because I'm like, I'm one of those guys. Like, once I start, man, I gotta see it through to the end.
Mhm.
I'm trying to figure out a way to help these dudes. Like, I guess what I do is, let me know if you think this is a good idea or not. Just, you gotta tell these dudes that you need to work just as hard as you do in the gym on your body as you do with preparing for these women. In other words, you need to have a plan. You know that they're coming and have a plan. They don't seem to work on that until the woman shows up and they're just getting pummeled. What would you suggest?
You know, I know a lot of really good guys that have come to my stuff years ago, 2018, 2019. They've even joined my community. They've become friends of mine. You know, we've traveled, we've done shit together. And just about all of them, with some rare exceptions, will default back to their very close to their original programming. Okay, very, very close. Even me, like I've written 2 books on this shit. I think about this stuff a lot. I've put out a couple of thousand videos on this. Like even me, I still find myself catching myself from time to time, you know, when it comes to dealing with women. You have to be vigilant. You really have to be vigilant. You know, you can spend 30, 40 years doing something a certain way and learn some new skills, but the repetitiveness of doing it the same way for 30, 40 years means that that's where your program is going to default to. That's where you're going to go in chaos. That's where your thinking is going to end up, you know, for the most part, when there's a conflict, you know, in the thought process. I think it's tough, you know, to be honest with you. I think it's tough, but I think that if you're intentional about it and you're attentive to things, you can continue to get what you want. You can continue to set boundaries. You can continue to deal with women in a way that's conducive and productive for you. But you will be tempted to go back to the default software programming that, you know, you always started out with. I see a lot of guys do it. Like I've seen guys get married after they went through a shitty divorce, right? All over again because she's a pretty girl and she's got a great set of tits and ass, right? And that's how guys are, right? Like women bamboozle guys routinely. I've seen guys get into long-term relationships that I've known well, that I've hung out with, that just disappear. You don't see them anymore. They don't contact you. They don't want to hang out. You know, they're all wrapped up in this new world of the new relationship. And they forget what sent them to ask questions to begin with. Because the honeymoon phase is easy. It's fun. You know, it's playful. The sex is frequent and abundant and enthusiastic. And then it slowly gets worse and degrades over time. And I think that's just a natural cycle that a lot of guys go through. And it's not my job or your job or anybody's job to babysit them and tell them how to do things. I just tell them, I told you so, you know, when they go and do the same stupid shit again.
Yeah. And I think that's real talk when you said even you. Because I tell guys all the time, you know, when I talk to these dudes, I mean, man, you got it all figured out. I'm like, do I? Like, bro, I'm on track to $500,000 in child support for one child. You say, I got it figured out? Yeah. I'm trying to keep you from falling in that hole. You know?
Yeah, it's just, you know, it's just something that you got to be aware of when you're dealing with anything. It's like, you know, the wrong way that we've been told to do things is going to be our default in chaotic moments. Like, it took me a long time to not let people get under my skin, you know, to like push my buttons. I don't tend to lose my temper, but every guy can have a temper in, you know, situations where, you know, something unjust happens, right? Like, you know, when you're wronged, then anger is a legitimate response in the face of an injustice. And sometimes that comes with a temper. Sometimes you snap, sometimes you call names, but it's like, you have to manage all of these things from different angles. And it's just like, it's a lot of work, man. It's a lot of, like, dealing with chicks is a lot of work. And that's why, you know, I tell guys, like, what, you're going to go get married now because a book that somebody purportedly wrote said you had to do it, and you have to follow these rules, and you have to live with them, and you have to do it in the eyes of the state in a way that makes the government happy because she said so, and you have to get down on one knee because some marketing company said we're going to dig some dinosaur shit out of the ground and polish it up and put it on a fucking ring, and you're supposed to spend 3 to 6 months of your salary buying this piece of dinosaur shit, right? Like, you're going to do all of those things because people said that's the way things should be done, or do you want to do things so that they serve you better, so that you can get the results that you want out of life, right? And that's what I'm telling. Like, that's all that I basically did with Andrew Wilson. Is I'm just like, do it your way. I don't fucking care. I legitimately don't fucking care. I wouldn't trade my life for your life. I wouldn't trade my resume for your resume. Right?
That's a fact. And then then when he was touching on the financial aspect, really lost me there. You know, like, well, you're talking about someone who's already wealthy. So what do you tell the regular guys, the poor guys? Like, you know, your response, get wealthy, which makes sense. Like, do the work, you know, just figure it out.
Yeah, I don't know if you caught it with the other guy, but it's like, you know, his argument was, well, let's go and petition legislator, Congress to change family law. And, you know, my angle is just make more money and then structure your life in such a way that you don't have, like, what's easier, making a little bit more money or convincing the government to change laws with harpy feminists infused within the fabric of the state? What's easier, make more money or change the laws?
Yeah, as someone who messes around in politics, making more money is definitely easier.
Every day, all day long.
Every day, all day long. I definitely co-sign on that. And it's hard for guys to understand that. You know, Aaron Clary's
his answer is like the common man, you know, Rich, but what about the common man? What? You want to be common? You want to be average? You want everybody to fucking marry the same kind of chick that you did? Like, that's what you want? But that's his angle, right?
That's what it is.
I play like there's different levels to life and game. And I play, you know, life differently, and that's just me.
I mean, I tell people all the time, you know, it boils down to, as a man, you best believe you need to control your emotions. You need
100%.
to be able, you need to be, in order to do this, where did I go wrong in my personal situation? I let my emotions go too early and with the wrong person. And what do you do when you let your emotions go? You begin to ignore those warning signs. You begin to ignore the red flags.
Yeah,
And
I learned that a long time ago. Like, anger is not useful in most situations, especially with women. They always use it against you.
They always use it against you. And what happens is you can't take that anger out on women, so you go outside, and what happens? Some dude bumps into you. Next thing you know, you know what I mean? You're in the back of the police car. You done caught yourself a case.
Yeah.
And all that stems from you not controlling your emotions. So I'm gonna continue to work on my end and do what I can, man. I appreciate your work. I'm watching you. I send everyone to you. As you can see, I got your book over my shoulder. You know, I try to read your book at least twice a year just to remind me and refresh me, because like you said, even those of us who know the game and are working hard every day in this game, we still slide back sometimes because it's comfort. Man, that just, man, comfort is good, right? You want that nice, fuzzy, warm feeling of how you used to do business, but that's what got you in trouble in the first place, man. So keep doing what you're doing, brother. I appreciate you.
Thanks, man. See ya.
Peace.
Yeah, the whole you know, the whole thing was like, just say no to women more. And my version of it is very different from his version of it. Let me grab Drew over here. Let's hope he's got audio fixed up. How you doing, man? You back?
Hey, Rich, how you doing? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
Fire
sorry
away. What
about
do you
that.
got for me, brother? What do you got?
Yeah, I just want to get a little advice on something real quick.
Sure.
So quick rundown. I work in strength conditioning, like coaching, fitness. I've done a bunch of private sector stuff, university coaching, and I started getting into tactical, like where you kind of are a government contractor, that whole deal. I wouldn't say the pay's better, but the pay's probably definitely better than universities. But it's, you know, a 9-to-5 job, holidays off, all that stuff, PTO, salary, benefits, which is also hard to get in fitness, right? So, but bottom line, right now I live in Hawaii. I relocated to Hawaii for work.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've ever been out here, but people love it out here. But also it's been a kind of, I guess, not a hard 2 years, but just tough to get relocated here, get settled down and stuff. And I work here with like a higher end population. I work with special operations, and I had some opportunities to go back to Tennessee. But it'd be a step back in my career. It'd be a big pay cut, but also the money in Tennessee goes a lot farther than out here.
Mm-hmm.
So, just kind of going back and forth. There's a lot that goes, maybe I'm thinking about it too much, but I've always had pretty good success in Tennessee with dating and stuff like that. And I'm at the point where I'm just looking for something long-term, something serious. And out here, like the dating culture has just not kind of been great for me. I could probably make a lot of excuses, but I think if I would have done the past 2 years differently, I would have just focused on a couple different things. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of where I'm at. So I want to just I kind of know what I'm doing, but I just want to kind of
How old are you, man?
and see on it. I'm already 42. So
what are you getting paid right now doing what you're doing in Hawaii?
So I make $88K right now, which is a good salary in Tennessee, but in Hawaii, after taxes and cost of living.
Got it. Yeah. Look, man, like, I've talked about the wealth creation methods. It's in my second book. I don't know if you've got a copy of the second book yet.
No, I'll try and pick it up. I have your first book. I've read it.
Yeah, the second book takes you deeper down a rabbit hole, and I spent an entire chapter talking about money because people are asking me about that quite a lot. And there's 6 ways to make game-changing money that put you well into 6 figures, will make sure that you're worth 7 figures very easily. And when you follow that path, like a lot of guys will be like, yeah, Rich, I get it, sort of thing. But, I had this guy that I was talking to a couple of weeks ago that's in my community, and he was looking at taking on a job working for the Canadian government as a border patrol customs officer, the guy that sits in the glass box. And when you drive across the border, you hand your passport to that guy. He sits there with a belt and a gun and ammo and a radio and all that sort of shit. So that job. And, he was seriously contemplating. And I said to him, I go, you're 20, whatever, like 27 or something like that. This job's going to pay you whatever. It's like 90,000 in the first year. And then you can earn up to like 120,000 in the following years. And then they have this like path. They have this chart that shows you like the path you have to take. And he posted it, the path that you have to take to sort of get to the highest level of pay. And along that way, they basically tell you it's a lifetime career. Early on, they're going to post you in less than desirable places. So you're going to be working in border crossing booths, not like at Niagara Falls, for example, but in the middle of buttfuck nowhere, at a border crossing, between Maine and Quebec or something like that, where there's almost no traffic and you're far away from everything. And you get paid what would be considered, like very little. And I'm like, dude, you're 27. These are the 6 ways that guys make real money. These are the ways that, you can make life-changing money in the next several years, like within close proximity to your age right now, maybe let's say 5 years, right? Why don't you pick one of those, right? And, I had another guy shortly after that talk about, well, if I start saving more money, then I'll have more money. And it's like, that's not the path to wealth. There's nobody that got rich by coupon cutting, by, packing a lunch every day, when they go to work to their 9-to-5 job, which stands for just over broke. You got to think bigger than that, guys. You got to think much, much bigger than just, if I made this salary in Tennessee, the money would go further because the cost of living's a little bit better. But what is that marginal difference? It's say 10, 15, 12%. Like it's a marginal difference. It's not gonna be a game changer. If you want game-changing outcomes, you got to make game-changing decisions. You got to make game-changing choices in your life. And, for a guy like you that's saying, I'd like to find a gal and maybe, settle down or have a family or whatever that notion is, most guys get destroyed. We were just talking about this debate with Andrew Wilson. Most average guys march into it thinking about making marginal changes, and they're hoping the outcome will improve or improve to the regard that the loss might be reduced slightly or somewhat acceptable. But the bottom line is, like, what are you going to get? You're going to get some run-through hoe from a dating app who's 37 that wants to get right and have a family, that nobody's committed to, that's probably alpha widowed, that's been on 30 dicks, that you're going to do what then? Wife her up and have a family with her? Right? You have more optionality when you've got more success, when you've developed more renown for yourself. You know, one of the things that I've been harping on a lot more lately, especially in the last year, is the key, guys, for you guys out there watching us right now, the key for you to get more of what you want out of life is to be as handsome and attractive as you can possibly be. And my friend here, Drew is a good looking, healthy guy. You know, you can tell by his neck, he's muscular, he's in good shape. Being as handsome as you can possibly be. And then also on top of that, being as valuable as you can possibly be, right? And there's a 7 spokes of a high value man that I talk about in the second edition of my first book. And you level up in all those areas. You're not like thinking about trivial things like, do I take my income or a slight change in income to go to another state that has a much lower cost of living or a slightly lower cost of living? Money will go a little bit further, but the lifestyle here is a little bit better than I like it. You don't think about any of that because you're at the top shelf or in close proximity to it. So these marginal things, they don't matter. You see what I'm getting at here, Drew?
Yeah.
What I'm basically saying is you're not thinking big enough. What you're doing is you're playing not to lose, is what that really boils down to. Is you're playing not, like there's a difference between playing to win and playing not to lose. And like the vast majority of guys that I see and that I talk to, they tend to play not to lose. Let me save a couple of bucks. Let me see if I can cut a couple coupons. Let me see if I can move to the state and maybe have 7% more, right? That's not going to be like a life, like that's not playing to win. That's playing not to lose. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I mean, I would say not that I don't agree with what you're saying, but also, like, you know, that's what I do is strength conditioning and coaching and fitness training. And to change fields at this point, or like to do something else. I mean, right now I'm pretty much making as much as you can as a coach, unless you're with a Division I football team or something like that, or a professional team, or some sort of like big time influencer, which that's just not really, I guess, something that I've really ever tried to do, because I just like coaching people in person.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just a tough profession, and it's nothing that, like, I never got into it to get rich. And as soon as I start making more money, the economy gets worse, and then it's just been a vicious cycle like that for the past 10 plus years. And
yeah, right. So I mean, like the point that I'm trying to drive home with you, Drew, is that how has playing not to lose worked out for you thus far? And the answer to that question, it really hasn't. So what I'm offering you is the notion of changing your mindset just a little bit more, playing to win.
Sure.
And using strength and conditioning as an example, because I know this well. Like I've been training since I was 13 years old, since my dad gave me Charles Atlas's Dynamic Tensions Handbook. You probably heard of it, right? No?
Yeah.
Look it up. Look it up. But I know what it takes to change the body. And it's consistent, repetitive motions and good daily decisions to create the frame of masculine strength and, the optics of attraction, from the male physique, obviously. But that takes weeks, days, and years and months of like work, right? And the same sort of effort that you're putting into playing not to lose, put that into playing to win, and making incremental steps towards that goal. You just have to reorganize your life, man. And that's a longer conversation. It means really taking a look at some better opportunities out there. When you get through the second book and you get into the wealth creation methods, it's like fully explained. In fact, if you wanted to watch it tonight, I think there's a podcast on this channel. If you go back a few months on the wealth creation method, you can probably find it. I did a full episode on that chapter from the book. But all I'm saying, dude, is like, I talk to so many guys, they call in and they ask a very similar question sort of thing. And it's like, guys, stop playing not to lose. Play to win in life. It doesn't matter if you're 28, 42, whatever happens to be. Remember, guys like, Colonel Sanders and Ray Kroc and all these guys, they made millions well after their 50s, right? Sometimes you don't knock it out of the park until later on in life, but, play more to win rather than these small incremental changes that, like, you're fucking around. Like, when you make these small things, a couple percent here, move over there to save a little bit more, money goes a little bit further sort of thing. You got to like really take it up to the next level. Look for ways to do that. Thanks for calling in, Drew.
Yeah, Rich, appreciate it.
I think we're going to wrap it up on that note, guys. It's been a good show for an hour and a half. I wasn't planning on doing a full 2 hours tonight because, like I said, it's a family day holiday here. I'm still in my ski gear. I'm still in my undergarments. I didn't change for the show tonight. It's been a longer day. I want to thank you guys all for tuning in and calling in and doing all the, all the good stuff. But we'll see you next week. We'll do another show at 7 o'clock. I had to push it back to 7:30. You guys have an awesome night. Peace out. All right, guys. If you enjoyed that podcast, make sure you visit my website at richcooper.ca to learn more about my courses, my book, The Unplugged Alpha, community, or booking me for private coaching. Also, if you are a Canadian with $15,000 or more of credit card debt and what you are doing right now isn't paying off the balances, then visit totaldebtfreedom.ca and hit get a free quote to see if you qualify to settle your credit card debt for less than you owe today over the next 48 months. Make sure you check out the top pinned comment on YouTube for all the links mentioned during the show. Peace.